to be taking you on a smooth ride. We're going to be talking about trending issues. We're going to be having paper reviews, and then we'll have our analysts who will be coming into the studio to talk to us on these trending issues in our society today. And if we'll have time, we'll take a culture video, a culture clip, and after that, we're going to be having another guest in the studio who is going to be talking to us on polio. As we know, today is World Polio Day. So today, we have 3 different World Days, but very quickly, I'll dive right into taking the World Polio Day, today being the 24th day in the month of October, which is a Thursday, marks the annual World Polio Day, a chance for public and civil society partners to raise awareness and resources for the global effort to eradicate polio. Now, 2024 is a special year for the eradication efforts. An outbreak of variant polio virus type 2 in Gaza has drawn the world's attention to the reality that as long as polio exists anywhere, all countries will remain at risk. Now, today being the 24th day in the month of October is World Polio Day. But don't worry, we're going to be having some guests who will come talk to us about polio, the causes, the symptoms, and also the vaccines that will help. I've stayed in the north before, and I know that polio for a fact is one common disease in the northern area. But there are still other persons who are affected by polio. That's why we're going to be having our guest who will come talk to us all about polio for better understanding. All right, Perpetual, take us through the next World Day.
All right, still looking at the International Observation Calendar. Today is the International Day of Climate Action 2024. Now, this day is celebrated on the 24th day of October every year, and it is dedicated to raising awareness about the urgent need to address climate change. Now, people come together to highlight the importance of environmental conservation, promote sustainable practices, and advocate for policies and laws that address climate issues. It goes further to say that a few practices people do today are cleanup campaigns. They try to sensitize people on the need to keep their environment clean, tree planting, hosting rallies, and educational events, sensitization, like I said earlier. So all of these are important in commemorating the importance of the World Climate Day 2024.
All right, thank you, Perpetual. The World Development Information Day is next. Still today, the 24th day in the month of October, marks World Development Day. Now, this day is celebrated annually. October 24th. The day focuses on improving the dissemination of information and mobilizing public opinion, especially amongst young people. Now, the primary goal for improving the dissemination of information and mobilizing public opinion is to create awareness for problems of development. Once the world brings its attention to the issues of development, countries around the world are better equipped to serve such problem. Now, one of the significance is that the aim of the World Development Information Day is to explain to the general people as to why it is necessary to strengthen international cooperation to find ways to solve these problems. Another way is that the day was held on the same day to coincide with the United Nations Day, which is today, to stress the central role of development in the UN's work. So that's that for World Days today. As we said, it's still World Polio Day, and of course we're going to be having a guest in the studio who will come talk to us about that. Now, a lot has been buzzing in our country and in the society. I just have to say that yesterday was a really dramatic day in Nigeria, where our own president stumped us by surprise. But were you really surprised?
I wasn't surprised, honestly.
Okay, same yesterday as well. We an extra state. But before we get into that, we're going to talk about our president and what happened yesterday. Now, yesterday, 5 ministers were sacked. We might want to get that picture up there. 5 ministers were sacked yesterday.
Yes.
That's the picture of the ministers who were sacked yesterday. And that's not just all that happened. Now, yesterday, 5 ministers were discharged of their duty. And we have Barrister Uju Ken Ohoneye, Minister of Women Affairs. We have Lola Adejon, Minister of Tourism. Professor Tahim Mama San, OON, Minister of Education. Abdullahi Mohammed Guazo, Minister of State Housing and Urban Development. We also have Dr. Jemima Bio Ibrahim, Minister of Youth Development. Now, same yesterday, we had a reassignment of new portfolios in person of Honorable Dr. Yusuf Tanko Sanunu from the Minister of State Education to now the Minister of State Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction. We also have Dr. Marufu Olatunji Alausa from the Minister of State Health, now Minister of Education. We also have Barrister Bello Mohammed Goroyo, Minister of State Water Resources and Sanitation, now moved to Minister of State Works. We also have Honorable Abubakar Ashokba Momo from the Minister of Niger Delta Development, now Minister of Regional Development. We also have Uba Maigari Mamadu, Minister of State Steel Development, now Minister of State Regional Development. We have Dr. Doris Uzoka Anita, Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, now Minister of State Finance. We have Senator John Onwa Eno, Minister of Sports Development, now Minister of State Trade and Investment Industry. We have Imam Suleiman Ibrahim, Minister of State Police Affairs, now Minister of Women Affairs. Ayodele Olawande, Minister of State for Youth Development, now Minister of Youth Development. Dr. Salako Isiak Adekunle Adebayo, Minister of State Environment, now Minister of Health. Now, all of these, Pepe, kind of took me by surprise because particularly for the Minister of Health, who is now the Minister of Education, I was thinking that you ought to put people in portfolios where they can actually function properly. But then our president knows best, right? And
Yeah,
I really hope that he's doing the right thing. And I also have to say that there's nothing wrong in the reshuffling of the cabinet. I mean, if he notices that they're not functioning well, there's nothing wrong with.
Even if the reshuffling has to do with putting those in, that did not have those expertise, like putting a doctor in agriculture, putting a farmer in health, you think there's no problem with that?
No, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, I think it was wise of him to think it wise that, okay, these persons are not really functioning well in these places where I have placed them. So I'm saying that there's nothing wrong with the reshuffling.
Okay.
What I have a problem with is the places where some particular persons were assigned to. But it's not in my place to talk about that because we're going to have our guest analyst who will come in here to dissect this issue and talk about it. But also yesterday, we had appointment of new ministers, 7 new ministers to be precise. If we can get the picture up there, we got seven new ministers yesterday, in person of Dr. Netawe Yiwata, Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction. We have Mohamed Maigari Jingaji, Minister of Labor and Employment. We also have Bianca Odinika Odumegu, I beg your pardon, Ojukwu, Minister of State Foreign Affairs. We have Dr. Jumoke Odunwole as Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, We have Idi Moka Maiha, Minister of Livestock Development. We also have Right Honorable Yusuf Abdullahi Atta, Minister of State Housing and Urban Development. We have Suiba Said Ahmad, PhD, Minister of State Education. Now, aside from that, we also got to find out that the renaming of the Ministry of Niger Delta Development to Ministry of Regional Development to oversee the activities of all regional development commissions. The Regional Development Commission to be under the supervision of the new ministries are the Niger Delta Development Commission, the Southeast Development Commission, the Northeast Development, and the Northwest Development Commission. Now we also have the immediate winding up of the Ministry of Sports Development and the transfer of its function to the National Sports Commission in order to develop a vibrant sports economy. Now, Pepe, I really, as I said before, I liked the fact that some cabinets were merged together, but I had thought that the Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs was for that region. Still, we're going to have our analysts talk about that. But that came up, and I thought to myself that, okay, maybe this is in a bid to save costs of governance, which isn't a bad thing. But then we also got to find out that there was another breaking news where we had an extra state, the new Oyo State, having Oyo Town as its capital, and Ibadan State having Ibadan as its capital.
So we have about 37 states right now in the country.
That's it. And if Ibadan, personally, I think that they were overdue to become a state because it has been a great city for a very long time right now. But on the other hand, I was really wondering, is that what we need at this time? Now we have issues of the crumbling economy that we're of course trying to revive. I was thinking that we try to veer our energy towards more important things, but then we have a new state coming up. So I don't know how that is going to help, faction our economy and make our economy better, how it's going to reduce the prices of fuel and gas. I really don't know how that's going to work out, but then they know best, right?
They do.
Yes, and we're happy for the new states. I guess that they've been clamoring for this for a very long time, so it's congratulations to them and big kudos. Okay, our next story, Pepe.
All right, looking at the state of happenings in the country for the past 4 days or more, there's been power failure, partial in some areas and total power failure in some other areas. Now, it is in this light that the House of Representatives has directed its Committee on Power to investigate the frequent national grid collapses and provide a report within 3 weeks. Now, this decision followed a motion of urgent national importance raised by Honorable Mansuru Manu Soro from Bauchi PDP during the plenary session. Now, in this motion, Honorable Soro expressed deep concern over the persistent grid failures, which have plunged the entire country into a blackout, hereby worsening the economic challenges already faced by Nigerians. He stressed that a stable power supply is essential for driving economic growth and development in any nation. Now, he highlighted that states in the northwest and northeast regions have been left in darkness due to the ongoing power sector crisis, urging the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, to restore electricity to the affected areas. Now, summarily, Soro also pointed out that the troubling fact that these grid collapses are occurring even as the Minister of Power assures the public of improved electricity supply, a promise that led to the government approval of increased electricity tariffs for Band A customers. So the increment in that tariff price, most especially for Band A, is not, I don't want to say in tandem at this point, but it doesn't correspond with the output we are receiving in terms of stable power supply. And trust me, this has affected a whole lot of businesses.
Right.
Most people have lost their products, they've tried refrigerating it, but because of this power outage, they found out that most of the things in their freezer, in their fridge is spoiled, and they can't do anything.
Right.
And this will make them, lose money, lose customers, and it's very, very disturbing. Now there is an increment in price of fuel for the generator, those that run on diesel, if they have the big lister and all of that, and these things are not
And
cheap.
even gas.
And even everything is skyrocketing at an increasing and alarming rate, and it's not funny anymore. So I think I support this motion that this thing be looked at. I even think that 3 weeks is too much. At a sitting, a week, one sitting, two sitting, they can look into it, make the necessary calls, investigation, and just have this thing fixed, because Nigerians are not finding it funny anymore.
Nigerians
it's
are
funny
not finding
at
it
all.
funny.
It's not.
Now, Pepe, you talked about Band A, and I was just thinking to myself that there's this confidence that comes with being a member of the Band A,
I tell
and
you.
then you immediately, you feel that light power supply is steady, and you go to the market and do bulk buying. Of course, we all know that it's interesting to do bulk buying.
It's cheaper.
You do bulk buying and stock your freezer, and then the next day, they shock the shock out of you,
Oh Lord.
take the lights, and all your things in the freezer automatically go bad. It's more sad because the bill that comes out from being a member of the Band A is quite outrageous. And at some point, you just wish that you are not in the Band A. You probably just be a bandit so that you know what you're doing.
Oh my.
that's on the lighter note. But I'm really hoping that, and I just have to say that it's not enough to say, okay, let's fix the grid collapsing issue. We need a lasting solution
To the problem.
we need a lasting solution. There's nothing wrong. Development has come. There's nothing wrong in having a lasting solution where we can confidently say that we have 24 hours power supply. Who even made the rule that when it starts to rain, the light should go out? When it starts to rain most times and there's still lights in your house, you're almost scared. Like, hope something is not wrong.
Hope nothing is going
Hope
to
nothing
spoil.
is going to spoil. I mean, all this should change. All this narrative should change. Well, we have a lot of trending issues. We have this one saying Senate calls for national summit over out of school children. Now, Senator Usman Lawa Adamu disclosed that over 2 million out of school children have been enrolled in the last 1 year. Now, very quickly, I just have to say that the out of school children is a situation on its own, and that's caused by poverty, and I like the step that is being taken. Okay, Pepe, we'll have to take a pause there, and when we come back, it will be time for another segment. Don't go anywhere. All right, our next segment will be taking us to talking about culture, the richness, diversity, and richness again in culture. Now, the Delta State is rich in culture. Now, today we're going to be taking you to the ancient kingdom of the Ekwoma people in Ika Northeast local government area of Delta State. Now, the festival is called the Obanigbe Iwaji Festival that normally comes up after a successful farming season and harvest, featuring mostly dancing, eating of yam, peace, blessing, offering from the king of the kingdom known as Ajer to the people and others. Now, the festival also showcases rich cultural heritage of Ekwoma people. As seen in this video, the event attracts people from within and outside Ekwoma and a great opportunity for family reunion. The yearly festival is always peaceful, devoid of fights and clashes. Ekwoma means a fighter and beautiful land. Now that's it on your screen there, the beauty of culture. Let's watch that video right there. back from the Ekwoma Kingdom, and that was the Ogbanibe Festival. Of course, I'm not here alone. I have with me Mr. Bonnie Akeze. He's an analyst, but also he's not an analyst. He's a man who loves and understands culture. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
How are you doing?
I'm fine, are you?
Very fine, thank you. And of course, Perpetua Iboba is also here sitting pretty. Okay, so in that video, we saw something, the uzu, which is the white chalk.
Okay.
And that white chalk signifies purity. Now, I've been opportune to go to some kingdoms in Delta State, in the Anyoma area, and when you go to the palace, the king will always give you that uzu. I think it also means that you're welcomed, so it is a way of welcoming you. But please, we would love you to throw more light into that, because in that video we saw a man who took the white chalk and put around his head. I don't know if he's trying to be soaked in purity, but please help us with that.
Okay, let me start by saying, in fact, you already even though Igbo-nizing the thing.
Okay.
It is Nzu.
Okay, Nzu.
Nzu.
Okay. Okay,
So,
apologies.
I know it also has the name in other different languages.
Yes.
So let us start by the significance of the Nzu we call the white chalk. Is that thing Nzu that is now white? It is the final stage of the development of kaolin. Kaolin is a solid mineral. When it is mined, it is brownish in color. But it undergoes what in chemistry we call alchemy. It's a method of transformation, and it becomes white. So in the cultural sphere, it is used as sign of purification,
Okay.
because it is a substance that went through natural purification of alchemy. It was reddish brown, becomes dark brown before it's transformed to become white.
Okay.
So anytime we are doing purification in our culture, especially in the Anyoma area, the white chalk features prominently, drawing from that symbolism of its process of purification, and it also represents a peace. When they give you peace, it is that's a praying for you to have peace, and that your life will undergo purification until you turn out to be that peacemaker. It takes somebody who has peace to give peace. It takes somebody who is stable to be peaceful.
Yes.
You know, so that is the symbolism of Nzu, as
Okay.
called the white chalk.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Bonnie. All right, very quickly, we dive right into paper reviews, and today we have some papers for you. We have the Daily Trust newspaper, we have the Guardian, the Nation newspaper, the Daily Times newspaper, the Nigerian Tribune, the Punch newspaper, and the Vanguard newspaper. First paper we'll be taking here is the Daily Trust newspaper. And the Daily Trust newspaper, first buzzing on our headline here, says Tinubu sacks 6 ministers, appoints 7 others. Now the writer to that story says reassign portfolios to 10 cabinets still over bloated. This is by CSOs. Lean government workforce will cut wastes. This is by ex-permanent secretary. Next one says we will resist attempt to scrap Niger Delta ministry. Now the other story there says FG gives Julius Berger ultimatum on Abuja Kaduna Kanu Road. Now that's that on the Daily Times newspaper. So please do grab yourself a copy of the Daily Times, Daily Trust newspaper.
All right, taking a quick look at the Guardian newspaper this morning. The screaming story here says cautious optimism over Tinubu's reshuffled cabinet changes. You can find this on page 6, and then at the bottom strip it says NUC, NCD, MB, and others move to commercialize research and end capital flight. Flood displaced 5 million Nigerians in 10 years. IMF tasked Nigeria, other African governments on fiscal reforms and e-governance. Alright, for these stories we've reeled out and others, please do what to get yourself a copy of the Guardian newspaper.
And the Nation newspaper is next. First here on our headline says Tinubu fires 5 ministers in major cabinet reshuffle. At the top there we have Attorney General in trouble over state suit against EFCC. And that's that. But the Nation's newspaper has all that story, so please do grab yourself a copy.
Looking at the Daily Times newspaper this morning, it says Tinubu sacks 5 ministers, reassigns 10 to new portfolios, charges newly appointed ministers, reassign colleagues to see their appointment as a call to serve Nigeria. President has no basis to scrap Niger Delta Affairs Ministry. This one is coming from Edwin Clark. For the rest of the stories making up the Daily Times newspapers, please do well to get yourself a copy.
All right, and now we move to the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. And first here says 429 days after Tinubu rejigs 45-member cabinet. The writer stood a story. But at the top there we have another story saying many citizens facing difficulties in Nigeria, Naira showing signs of stability, says IMF. That and many more you can get on the Nigerian Tribune, so please do grab yourself a copy.
All right, moving on to the Punch newspaper this morning. The major story here says private sector opposition split as Tinubu reshuffles cabinet. And then at the top strip it says Dangote refinery begins direct petrol sale to marketers. And lastly, 12 states delay 30,000 naira minimum wage for teachers. Now this one is a report.
All right, the last but not the least paper here, we have the Vanguard newspaper, and the screaming headline here says Tinubu fires 6 ministers, hires 7 new ones in cabinet rejig. At the top there we have climate change. Lagos is sinking. This is by Deputy Governor Hazmanzat raises alarm. At the side here we have Obasanjo Danjuma decries dwindling quality of leadership in Nigeria. And of course there we have the Mr. and Mrs. Corner. Now the Vanguard newspaper is packed, so please do grab yourself a copy of the Vanguard newspaper. Let's come back to our studio. All right, it's still Thursday's edition of Morning Ride, and Mr. Bonnie Akeze is very much in the studio with us. Good morning again, sir.
Good morning.
Sir.
Good morning.
All right, so yesterday was a very dramatic day in Nigeria. First of all, we got a new state. I'm sure you're aware of that. We got a new state yesterday in Nigeria. But aside from that, 5 ministers were sacked yesterday, and there was a reshuffling of the cabinet. Now, when I saw that, first thing I said to myself is, okay, if you feel that the ministers are not functioning as they should, there's nothing wrong in reshuffling. But then I'm really hoping that these persons who have been reassigned to new portfolios are persons who understand the duty and the assignment. Particularly, I'm really concerned of the minister who was moved from Minister of Health into Ministry of Education. I don't know what your thoughts are about that.
Okay, my thoughts are clear. You see, there are things we shouldn't bother so much about.
Okay.
The issue of who to appoint into the cabinet. It's the prerogative of the president. It's the prerogative of the president. Yes, we can perhaps on the level of antecedents and what we know about certain individual, we raise question about why this person. But I don't think issue of cabinet reshuffle should be making a big news. That is my personal opinion. Is what the president, whoever the president think is going to help him, do his job, because all the jobs of the executive arm of government are the job within the purview of the president. So whoever he thinks that is going to help him do anything, so be it. But the only thing I saw in that this thing is why creating a separate ministry? If I have to comment, I would say, why creating a separate ministry for livestock development? Is livestock development
What's
not an integral part? It's not an integral part of agriculture.
Yes.
It's supposed to be a part of agriculture. And people have said that the government is overbloated. Yes. Are you going to blame the president? If he does not appoint the number of ministers prescribed by the Constitution, he's going to be breaching the Constitution. So those who are doing the National Assembly should amend the Constitution, and the cutting down of the size of government should start from the constitutional stipulation. Look, America with how many states? Has how many secretaries? That's what we call ministers here. It's about 16, if not even I think it's between 12 and 16 secretaries. That is equivalent of minister. So if as big as America, in terms of size, only 2 states in America is even bigger than Nigeria. So if as vast as America, that occupies almost the greater part of the Northern American continent, will be having less than 20 ministers. What business do we have? And at the level of development they are, as in the size of the economy, the capacity to mobilize finances for government businesses, we are nowhere close to them.
Okay,
and yet that is the size of their cabinet.
Okay, I like the fact that you talked about the cutting down of the cost of governance. Now, 2 ministries were merged yesterday. Now, the renaming of the Ministry of Nigerian Development, Delta Development, to Ministry of Regional Development to oversee the activities of all the regional development commissions in the Regional Development Commission, to be under the supervision of the new ministries of the Niger Delta Commission, the Southeast Development Commission, the Northeast Development Commission, and the Northwest Development Commission. Now we also have the immediate winding up of the Ministry of Sport Development and the transfer of its functions to the National Sports Commission in order to develop a vibrant sports economy. Now that's that. I was thinking that the Ministry of Niger Delta Development Commission was solely for the issues going on in the Niger Delta. So
very good. Okay, thank you very much. You see, we have debated on this thing in the past, and I said, because if you look at, like you said, the renaming, no, that caption is wrong. They didn't rename the Niger Delta Ministry. They transferred, they scrapped the Niger Delta Ministry and sent these statutory functions to the Ministry of Regional Development. The question is here. We have always said the Niger Delta, because as it is now, all other geopolitical regions have a special ministry. It's only the South that does not have a special commission for it. The Niger Delta Development Commission, I was a part of people who had argued that it is not Niger Delta. Niger Delta is a region of within the lower Niger. Ondo, for example, is part of the Niger Delta Development Commission. Abia is part of it. Anambra joined. So Imo is part of it. So now, if you say you are transferring the Niger Delta Development Commission to the Ministry of Regional Development, Niger Delta Development, if you look at the function of Niger Delta Development Commission, it is about oil-bearing states. It is about oil-bearing states. So, what we are saying now, we have Ondo, for example. Ondo is part of the Niger Delta Development Commission. Was part of the states covered by Niger Delta Development. And Ondo is in Southwest. It will also be covered by Southwest Development Commission. Anambra, Imo, Abia are part of Southeast, and they are still part of the state covered by Niger Delta Development Commission. So you see that they have to, if we have to say regional development ministry, there should also be a South-South development ministry. Why there should be a separate commission for oil-bearing states, that is the states that are entitled to derivation from the crude oil funds. That is what it should be. Because it means now that South-South is being shortchanged. That is where I see it, and I think that is what it is.
Okay. Still talking about the reduction of governance, cost of governance. How does the new creation of states, New Oyo State, Oyo Town being the capital, and Ibadan State, Ibadan being the capital, help us save cost in governance?
See, if you want to,
because these new states, we need financing as well.
No, see, listen, if the creation of states supposed to be for devolution of power, that is, put it in the break down, the congest the center. So if you have to create states and make them truly federating states in terms of fiscal autonomy, I will support it, because it will bring governance closer. Creation of state is different from over-bloating the bureaucracy of government. There are two different things. If we have units, breakdown of units where services can reach every nook and cranny, of course, it will speed up the rate of development. So I don't have issue with that. But the issue of so we have to differentiate between the congestion and devolution from over-bloating, and the resizing, right-sizing of the bureaucracy. There are different things.
Okay. All right. Looking at the Guardian newspaper, it says flood displaced 5 million Nigerians in 10 years. Now, when you bring it back to Delta State, you find out that communities like Ekremese, Okwanala, and the rest of them, year in, year out, they have this continual flood issue. So is there no permanent solution to this displacement? Because it's occurring like every year people are being displaced. Those people that cannot go to upland, they stay there to bear the brunt of the flood in their communities, and they are also endangered. So what are your thoughts on that?
There is nothing rocket science about dealing with the issues of flood. It's just that we have not our Nigeria as a country has not addressed its uh, mind squarely. You know, we normally take things ad hocly. Once it happens, we do ad hoc, and especially things that comes and go. Once it comes, everybody will shout. Once it goes, we go back to sleep. It is there are places we have seen where canals were artificially created. That is where there was no water body, where there was no water channel, created for as a strategic approach to fiscal and environmental management. So, if you all the rivers, there are two ways we get flooding from the water bodies, that's rivers and ocean. Then there are what we call the flash flood. The flash flood that comes when it rains, and the communities are flooded. Flash floods are, as if you ask me, they are our attitudinal failure. You know, and this attitudinal failure is from the way we manage our environment. You know, people build against urban and regional development regulation standards. You know, people cut down trees. People do all manner of things in the environment without caring for the implication. And these are things that are staring us in the face. You will see people, you know, the places. People will just move in and start plotting places and selling land and building without regulation. If you get to, there are places you get to in, let's take for example Asaba as the state capital. If you move into through on the express, the other side of the where popularly called Bonsac or Duque, yes, and all those areas, just go inside as if you are from there. You are going towards Achali Guzo to Oko. You begin to ask whether even the state officials even get to that place. If you see what is there, because eventually those places will get built up, and the environmental implication of the haphazard development will start everybody on the place. I'm just using that place as an example. It happens all over. Fiscal development supposed to go, fiscal planning supposed to go ahead of fiscal development. You know, so all these things, all this unregulated fiscal development, because the rain is natural. So even the things that used to hold up water when it rains, even the things that the way water have to flow, the channelization, all those things are messed up. All those things are messed up. People build on places that are below sea level, and they don't take the platform, the level of next thing that has to be, you know, done, where the platform has to be created. All those things. Then you talk about the natural waterways that holds water. We don't dredge our rivers. And they have the rivers and the big, like the River Niger. River Niger has its own tributaries and estuaries. Over the years, the little dredging we do is people who go to dig out, but there is no comprehensive, you know, say every 10 years, these waterways will be dredged, everything evacuated, and you know, and if they are dredged properly, they will be used for water transportation. They will serve to hold water as we have continuous heavy rains, and when the dams are open and water are released. All those things You can even create, if you even find out by environmental management strategy, if you find out where you don't have channels that will, you can create. You can create. Suez Canal. So the Suez Canal that filled between the Russian and the Mediterranean to the Red Sea, within Egypt and Asia. It was created. It was created, and it has become a waterway that is even that is that ships pass through and other things, and it's used for trade, for economic purposes. It was created since after the colonial masters dredged the Lagos Lagoon, and I don't think there is any comprehensive dredging of waterways that any government in Nigeria has carried out. So why won't we have, face what we are facing today?
Okay. All right. That's a good place to leave it. Thank you so much, Mr. Boni Akeze. We've been talking extensively on the trending issues happening in Nigeria. We really hoped we would have kept you a little bit longer, but there's always a next time. We just have to say thank you so much
No
for
problem.
coming.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, it's still Thursday's edition of Morning Ride. When we come back, it will be time for another segment. Don't go anywhere.
Thank you.
Thursday's edition of Morning Ride. Welcome to our next segment. And today we shine the spotlight on the polio disease and its current situation of polio disease and, of course, eradication plans. Today, being the 24th day in the month of October 2024, is World Polio Day. And of course, before now, I told you that I will be having some special persons in the studio with me, and they're already sitting pretty. With me here is Dr. Mildred Ofowa, State Epidemiologist, Delta State Ministry of Health. Welcome. We also have Mr. Regan Akuneto. He's a Surveillance Officer, WHO. Welcome, sir. And we also have Onyebe Promise. He's Rep ED, Delta State Primary Health Care Development Agency. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
All right. So today being the 24th day in the month of October, it's World Polio Day. And this is for you, Dr. Mildred, since you're a doctor. What is polio? We are going to try as much as possible to break this down so that those outside can understand. So you try to help us break it down and not use those big terms if possible. So what is polio?
Okay, so basically, polio is a disease that's caused by the polio virus, right?
Okay.
And it causes paralysis. And by the case definition, it would usually affect children below 15 years of age, but we find it more commonly in children 0 to 5 years of age. And caused by polio virus, and basically children get this. Basically, I was just saying to colleagues earlier that you get polio fecal-orally, which means you must have consumed the feces of somebody else. So polio is caused by polio virus, and the transmission is fecal-oral route. So you have taken in feces that the polio virus is in. So, and it causes paralysis. Paralysis is basically weakness or floppiness of the limbs.
Okay, so what's the effect of polio?
So, like I already said, polio, if a child, I think during the course of our discussion, we'll talk about ways we can prevent polio. So,
Yes.
and this includes vaccination. So you find that if children are not vaccinated, they can come down with poliomyelitis, and so they have floppiness in their limbs, and usually would affect asymmetrical, usually will affect one limb more than the other. So if they have a form of deformity, it can be very glaring when you see the child, one of the limbs paralyzed, and so this can affect obviously their gait, movement, and obviously when somebody is paralyzed, you know, it can affect every other aspect of their lives. The child inability to go to school, obviously when they grow, the inability to provide and all of that. So there are several aspects of it. If we're going to look at how it affects the child's life, how it affects the economy and all of that.
Okay, so Mr. Promise, while she was talking, some persons will be wondering, is there a cure to polio?
Yes, actually, it's a very big load to say there's a cure to polio, because the only thing we do right now is preventive aspect of it. That's why we talk about vaccination, and also how do we sensitize the community, like what we are doing here today, to ensure that people are safe from polio. Like the vaccination, we have different strategy on that. We have the routine immunization, which is very key to the children that is under 5 years, under 1 specifically. And when the child is born, at that very moment, polio dose should be administered to that child, which is very key. And we also have other strategy like non-polio SIA, we call it supplemental immunization activity. So those are very key intervention we do to prevent poliomyelitis.
Okay, Mr. Regan, I would love to know what's the theme for this year, and also what's the global polio eradication initiative? What initiative has been put in place so far?
So the ECA, the Global Polio Eradication Initiative, is actually a chance for reflection and a reminder to each every last child that is actually global body, World Health Assembly. So every time they need to look at the disease burden in the world and see which one has a very high burden, and see how to agree on a common strategy to combat that disease, to reduce that burden, if possible, eradicate or eliminate that disease. So in 1988, the Global Polio Eradication Initiative was vetted, where over 130 member states of the United Nations, using the ministers of health of these nations, met and togetherly committed to eradicate polio from the face of the earth. So we had over, in pre-1988, when that initiative was born, we had over 130,000 confirmed polio cases yearly across the world. So we've actually made very significant progress, and then we had over 120 countries that were endemic for polio. Pre the global polio eradication threat. But we can see the milestone we recorded. Nigeria has benefited from this. I mean, sometime 2-3 years ago, Nigeria was listed as a polio endemic country because of the gains we made over the years, community resources, human and otherwise, engaging critical stakeholders to see that we reduce and eliminate polio from Nigeria.
I was just about to ask that, will it ever be possible to eradicate polio from the world? Particularly, I've been opportune to stay in the north, and this case of polio is very rampant in those areas. Will it ever be possible to eradicate polio?
Yes, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
It's possible to eradicate polio. All right, so humans are the only known reservoirs, right, for the polio virus. So what it simply means is, if we have every human, if we introduce the vaccine to every human, automatically we interrupt transmission, and you won't have polio again. It doesn't survive long outside the human body.
Okay.
And then we have an effective tool to combat polio. And what's that tool? The polio vaccine. And that's why we have the strategies to see that our people get these vaccines. I mean, if we have everybody within that target getting that, automatically polio will become a thing of the past. So where we have issues, why it seems like you question the act is ever possible, we have issues around faith, we have myths and misconceptions, we have people who propaganda, for one reason or the other, and then commitment to the buy-in, So if we can, make our people see the benefits of this, engage critical stakeholders, all of us play a role, from the research institution to the members of the community to even the market woman, right? Who eradicate polio, right? But one thing there about polio is this: once you're infected, once you come down with paralytic polio, there is no cure. So that's why the only effective.
But it can be managed. Can it be managed?
You can't manage it like other paralytic illnesses. The effects are lifelong. Those crippling effects are lifelong. So the person, of course, sometimes we have polio cases that could lead to death, right? But for those who come down with paralytic polio, once it sets it, it's irreversible. So the only effective way to combat polio is using the vaccines. And then we have two types of vaccines, right? We have the oral, which is what we encourage mothers to take their wards, especially children who are going to be exposed to the vaccine, take them to the health centers. And then we have the one we call the injectable, we call it IPV, right? Inactivated polio vaccine. That one is received via injection, right? So these are the two vaccines we have to combat it. So we encourage mothers, we encourage the general public as much as possible, make sure we maximize this strategy, because government, like we always hear, there is these things that are tools by government to break our people's terror. Those things are unfounded.
Okay. All right. Okay. Dr. Bidre, let's come down to Delta State. Now, we live in a society where a lot of persons live in denial, and some persons blame certain diseases to spirituality. That's when you start to hear things like, it's my daddy's sister in the village that is operating on me. Do you understand? So my question is, what is the ministry and the state government doing in the eradication of polio? What are the initiatives that has been put in place? And would you say that enough sensitization has gone into that?
Yeah, like my colleague, Ms. Reagan from the WHO has mentioned, there are several strategies, and we're very happy to have partners that are supporting us in these eradication strategies and ensuring that we don't have circulating virus in our state, and I'm sure in the country as well. So, things that the state government is doing, I'm the state epidemiologist. Surveillance is very key. In surveillance, we do several things. We have to search for cases. We have disease surveillance and notification officer at the state and in all 25 LGAs. We also have surveillance focal persons, and then we have community informants as well. You see, for polio, awareness creation is important, and being able for people need to know what polio looks like. They need to know what can happen if you don't get your child vaccinated. So I'm going to first talk about awareness creation. We have health promotion officers also at the state and then the LGA level. There's a lot of awareness that has been going on for many years and is still ongoing to let people know what is polio, what causes polio, and how it can be transmitted and all of that, and how it can be prevented. This is happening in all LGAs across the state. I like to mention very importantly the role of the community informants and the role of the community health workers we have, because these are the people that are close. These are the health workers that are closest, or volunteers closest to the people. They know the case definitions. They know what to do. They know what to who to reach out to if they find any child that has any form of weakness or floppiness in their limbs. So we have them, about 2,680 of them across the states, 10 per ward, community informants. We have community health workers in our PHCs. These are the people also that will be involved, especially through the Primary Healthcare Development Agency, to ensure that our children get the vaccines. The vaccines, like he already said, the oral polio vaccines, and then we have the injectables, that is the inactivated polio vaccine. The oral is given at birth. Any child that is born should get oral.
Okay.
That's 0. Then at 6 weeks, 10 weeks, and then 14 weeks. Then the IPV is given at 6 and then 14 weeks. So all these are already in place, and the mothers get to know about this when they come for their antenatal care. They educate them about the need to ensure that children are vaccinated. And so every child that comes, every mother that comes to the PHCs, and by the way, PHCs are closest to the people. In every ward, every local government has a PHC, every ward has a PHC. So they can get this information. And it's also interesting to know that even those that do not go to PHCs, right, that go to maybe traditional birth attendants, we also have these traditional birth attendants and even bone setters, and even those at the pharmacies as part of those that work with us as community informants.
Oh, really?
So they will also give them that information. They will direct them to the primary healthcare center to ensure that their children are vaccinated. So I've spoken about awareness, I've spoken about vaccination. Now for surveillance, we have to ensure that we're able to pick the cases on time. If there are missed cases of vaccination, we pick it, and we're working closely with vaccination to ensure if any child has missed their dose, they get vaccinated, they get their doses immediately. Then there's also another part that we do, environmental surveillance, that complements every other activity that we do. We go to we have strategic points where we go to the gutters to pick samples, and then we're testing. We want to see if there's polio virus in those gutters. So that's when we begin to talk about environmental sanitation. So it lies on us really as individuals, as Deltans, to ensure that every child that is given birth to gets vaccinated, gets all the doses they're supposed to get to fight against the polio, so they don't come down with it at all. Then another big thing that we must do is to ensure that our environment is clean. If our environment is clean, if children are not crawling around and picking the feces of another child and putting it in their mouth, it's fecal-oral, remember we said.
Yes.
They will not get it in the first place. So vaccination is key, environmental sanitation is key. The state government, alongside with our partners, are doing a lot with regards to ensuring that surveillance is robust and enhanced, ensuring that we're able to pick the cases. If they already have some form of floppiness, we test to see whether they have polio. To pick missed cases to see that they get vaccinated. And the state government is ensuring that every child gets vaccinated. We're doing supplementary immunization activities to ensure we're able to pick those places, even in very hard to reach areas, to ensure that they get their vaccines and no child comes down.
All right. So this oral vaccine, I'm wondering, can a sick child take it?
I bet. really, when you are giving birth to the child has it's oral. So it's important to know that it is serving. It doesn't have the live vaccine. So it's safe. It's safe.
Okay.
It's safe and it is effective. That's what we want everybody to know.
Okay.
A child can take it.
Okay.
Every child can take it.
Okay, so Mr. Promise, I would just want to cite a little example of someone who I knew that her child took a particular vaccine, and I think the child reacted in some kind of way, and she automatically stopped taking any vaccine for like a year plus. That child didn't take any vaccine, and she was saying something about having persons in strategic places that know these persons. So imagine a mom who doesn't bring her child forward for this vaccine. How then, we're still talking about trying to eradicate polio, remember, how then do we go about such situations?
Okay.
Because there are a lot of persons like that.
Yes, that's why we talk about dropout rates.
Okay.
Children that took the first dose of the vaccine, they never return back.
Mm.
That's why we have our people in the community. There's what we call active cases for zero dose children or maybe dropouts. You understand?
Yes.
So they go out to the community to sensitize the mothers about polio virus, about the effect of not completing your doses. You understand?
Yes.
And also the mixture of those children in schools, in the community, because they are high risk children. So in such community, we term it as a high risk community where you have those dropout rates. So continuous sensitization to mothers, to schools, to churches is one key activity that we normally do to just to ensure that no child is vaccinated with the first dose and never return back. So it's good. We ensure that all child are be vaccinated in full coverage. There is a complete vaccination for every children,
Okay.
and we have four schedule for children.
That's 4
that-
doses.
Yeah, 4 doses.
Okay.
That's 4 schedule.
Okay.
So we have OPV 0, OPV 1, OPV 2, OPV 3. Before that child is fully vaccinated for OPV and other vaccine for the organization.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so Mr. Regan, you just mentioned 4 doses, and I want to know, are there any side effects for this? Because there might be no side effect for vaccine 1, but there will be side effect for vaccine 3. So we want to know, are there side effects? And if there are side effects, what are the precautionary measures that can be taken to reduce the effects? Let's say reduce the effect, or to reduce the pain the child might go through.
The reaction.
Yes.
All right. So the vaccines are safe. The oral polio vaccine, the OPV, will be safe, right?
Okay.
However, in the event of any reaction, that's what we call it the adverse events following immunization. It's part of the surveillance system that's in place to ensure that when we have people react to vaccine, right? To vaccine, they are quickly taken care of. We have mechanisms in place. So we have classifications of these adverse events following immunization. And then for the awareness is there, especially during ANCs, antenatal care, and even during the what we call the vaccination days for facilities. We do a health talk, right? We
Yes.
educate the caregivers and the mothers that in the event a child reacts, please quickly bring this to our attention. So when a child is immediately vaccinated, we don't ask them to go away immediately. At least every child that's immunized get observed for at least 15 minutes, right? And if there is no reaction whatsoever, they can go. In the event there is a reaction when they are home, they encourage the mother. They encourage quickly call the health center so they can actually attend to that child. So it's important for us to note here that adverse events following immunization is expected, and then it's not it shouldn't drive people away from immunization. You know, our body mechanism differ from one person to the other. Remember, these are foreign objects being introduced to someone. So some persons react to it, some persons will naturally not react to it. So it
Okay, for
depends.
example,
Yes.
what kind of reaction? Because persons
You might
want
have
to know.
you might have elevated temperature, right?
Okay,
Fever.
okay.
You might have redness of the spots, right? And these are the mild cases. right? We
Okay.
call them, we classify them under what we call the non-serious AEF5. Then we have the extreme cases where you could be someone could convulse, which is very rare, right? Sometimes we can actually have coincidental reaction, which is not as a result of the vaccine. Vaccine fear, you know, for some persons immediately they see those syringes or the needles, right?
For children.
Yeah,
Yes.
the fear, you know, that
Yeah.
fear is there.
Yes.
So coincidentally, something can happen. So it's important for us to note here that once we have this AEFI, this kind of reaction, they are quickly investigated, right? And then any corrective action is instituted, right? For any case of serious AEFI, the parents or the caregivers are not expected to bear the cost. The program caters for that. So
Oh,
it's
that's interesting.
yes, we need to tell parents, caregivers that in the event a child is taken or their ward is taken to the health center and there is a reaction, it is expected. They should not panic, right? It
Okay.
is part of the immunization program. Rather, they should report immediately to the health center, and then the health center they are well trained to manage such situations.
Okay, Dr. Midred, we we're just talking about reactions, and then people will now, let's give examples of persons who stay far from the primary health care centers, and maybe the helpline isn't going immediately. What first aid treatment can be given while on your way to the primary health care center or the hospital?
Okay, so it's important to note the age at which these children get the vaccine. Remember, we said at birth, and we said 6 weeks, and then we said 10 weeks, and we said 14 weeks, right? So at that stage, the pediatricians, I'm not a pediatrician, I'm a public health physician, but the pediatrician will usually tell you that you shouldn't administer any medication to the child. Because if a child, for instance, comes down with a high temperature, they've gotten the oral dose, or maybe at 6 weeks they have injectable, and maybe the place is red. If it's red, it's not something to be worried about really. But if they have a high temperature, what a mother can do while she's on her way to the facility to see a healthcare professional is to do tepid sponging. How do we do tepid sponging? You can put a towel in water and then use it to clean up the baby, kind of so that the temperature can come down whilst you're on your way to the facility. I wouldn't advise a mother at that stage to begin to give any medication to a child as small as that. Or you can, if the temperature is high, you can easily just maybe give the baby a quick bath before taking the child to the hospital. But the healthcare centers are not so far as you see from people. It's actually very close. That's why we say primary health is within the community. We have primary healthcare centers that are functional within the community, not far from people. Okay? So it's reachable.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Would you want to throw more light into that?
Yes, we can also, when this case tends to be more serious, we now refer
Okay.
to the
Secondary
secondary facility.
facilities from the primary.
And every senatorial district, local government, they have a referral center
Okay.
where we refer them to.
Okay. Dr. Midred, what activities have been put in place for today?
Okay, so this is one big one that we're doing now. We're hoping that this can reach out to people, and then it will be even be shared hopefully on social media platform, and people are aware
Yes.
about it. Okay, so awareness campaign is what we're going to do going forward. I think from tomorrow.
Yeah,
until-
tomorrow
yeah,
we'll have a road walk.
yeah,
We're going to have a road
to
walk.
talk
Round
about it.
Asaba.
Yes.
Okay.
We'll
Okay.
have a road walk just to bring that sensitization to people. And then we're going to have sorry, let me just take for computer.
All right.
So we are targeting to have a sponsored immunization outreach where the focus here will be to reach these children with oral polio vaccines and other routinized antigens. So it's going to happen in 4 LPs, and then we'll make that known to everybody by the time we cross our teeth and then dot our I's. So these are actually the activities just in sync with the global polio eradication initiative.
How about going to market spaces?
Yeah, sure. That's part of that. The roadwork actually draws awareness. Of course, we're going to go to the market
That's part of
to
the
that's part of the sensitization
Alright.
awareness creation.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you. Okay, so we've been speaking with Dr. Midred Okowa, State Epidemiologist, Delta State Ministry of Health, Mr. Regan Akumeto, Surveillance Officer, WHO, and also Onibe Promise, Rep Delta State Primary Health Care Development Agency. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. Still Thursday's edition of Morning Ride. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. This is where we draw our curtains on today's edition of Morning Ride. Perpetual, your last words.
All right, we've had different commemorations today, being Thursday, the 24th day in the month of October 2024. In all, I will say be kind, humanity first, and try to put smiles on the faces of those around you. The world is hard enough already. The least you can do is be kind and try to put smiles on the faces of those around you.
All right, for me, I would say it's still World Polio Day. Health is wealth. So please do stay healthy. Thank you so much for riding with us today. We'll begin again tomorrow at 7 a.m. on Delta Television. We want to give a big shout out to our supervising producer in person of Nimi Bofa Ozibo, and of course Vivian Kechika, who is the co-producer. Alex Afodu, the man at the camera, at the MCR, sorry. Uche Oje, the man behind the camera, and of course Eunice, the girl behind the camera. I'm Chizzy Awuno. Until we come your way tomorrow, bright and early. Stay healthy. Good morning, and God bless Delta State.